What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, our Friday afternoon show presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet some good stuff this weekend, be it Scooball on the mound Friday night, NBA Finals Game 2, Stanley Cup Finals, all sorts of really good stuff going on. Or head down to Dacey's Tap Room and Sportsbook on I-94 in Battle Creek and have yourself the in-house sportsbook experience. Really cool down there. Don't need to go to Vegas. It's better here in Michigan at Firekeepers Casino. And our Friday afternoon show also presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. If you're looking for a place for a date this weekend to catch the Tigers game, to try to do both at once, which is always difficult, lots of TVs, great setup. It doesn't overwhelm you, though. If you want a date night, you can do the thing where your significant other is sitting there, you look like you're paying attention, but over their left shoulder, you can see Tarek Scooball pitch 7 shutout innings and pretend to be listening, or just enjoy the ambiance. I recommend on the weekends, go to caskandcompany.com, make a reservation, helps out. Sometimes you can just get in. You can often just sit at the bar at Front 43, but it does get busy on the weekends. They do well. A lot of people know just how great their menu is, their beer selection, and the vibes at Front 43 and Cask & Company. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Third grade,
okay.
Right? 3 Jasons. I wasn't the brightest, so I went with the shortest, and it's been that way ever since.
I mean, I felt all of Fred Human.
What's up, buddy? Are you sad you missed it? The J Batt gangbang and then the old presser. I watched both.
Yeah. Was it fun? Was it good? Did it look
wasn't.
awesome?
I'm a little disappointed that
Okay.
J Batt doesn't have the I was hoping for more of a Southern twang.
Yeah.
I need a little. He's got the haircut right. He's got a lot of the vibe right. The voice, it just doesn't match what I'm kind of the vision I was seeing for our athletic director.
When the LSJ, when we had Ryan Black is our sports storyteller, and it really enjoyed working with him. And one of
Kentucky, right? Yeah.
One of the things I enjoyed, he was originally from Georgia.
Oh.
And he just had this Southern drawl to him, and the coaches loved it. It was really disarming. It was.
Well, and how are you supposed to disarm money from some of these donors?
Need a Southern accent.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sucker it out of them.
You're going to pound the bushes. I want someone to pound the bushes and to come out of the bush with sort of a Southern accent. If I want to feel confident going into this football season. And by the way, football is a priority at Michigan State, I heard.
Yeah. I love how
all the other sports, but we just want to let everybody know. I've read a couple columns. Football is a priority.
Yeah, a lot of original writing coming out of the J.
So if you sit there and think you can just take a midweek vacation, we missed all that stuff from Couch. 3 quick takes and all that stuff.
I gave you the quick takes ahead of time. I wrote exactly what was going to be said ahead of time.
Yeah, but you weren't there for the vibe.
I wasn't there for the vibe.
Izzo's speech. Why do we have to put Izzo out there, though? I mean, you got Gussie doing his whole spiel. God, what an event.
Izzo's the face of MSU athletics.
He is.
And that's why.
He is.
It doesn't matter who
no
the AD
notes,
is.
though.
Yeah.
I do love the no notes.
Yeah.
When I see stuff. Because as someone that has anxiety of speaking to someone in that magnitude, I would be absolutely so scared of what I would say. I'd be so nervous. And Izzo was just up there just free balling.
So the only thing I missed is you do get a chance to at least get a sense of somebody, meet them for the first time a little bit. Like I have no sense of J Batt in terms of, who I read, the same columns you did. I saw a little bit of the quotes and tidbits that came out of there. But I was otherwise, I was locked in on my days off in Canada, hanging out with my mom and sister up in Stratford.
Did you have fun?
We did. We had a great time. Unbelievable play on Tuesday night. If you get a chance, there's a play called Forgiveness that's going on this season in Stratford. It alone is worth the trip. You can build everything around that. It's the best thing I've ever seen there. It's that good. It has to do with Japanese internment camps and 2 families. It's really unbelievable. Yeah, it's very good.
Is that George Takei? Is that his life story?
Well, parts it's not his specifically, but certainly there are.
I know him from the Stern show when he was on there. He'd always talk about the internment camps.
Yes. Yeah. The thing I didn't realize, and I think a lot of people don't, is they went on for years after the war. So it wasn't just like the war is over and those families were free to go back home and their stuff was all gone.
So after the play, what do you guys? I mean, you go to out to eat?
Well,
Like, what's the vibe?
That was an 8 o'clock showing, so we take my mother back to the the bed and breakfast, and my sister and I go to the bar. That's what happens. So yeah, we had a good time.
Tuck mom in.
Yep.
Go have a good time.
See ya.
Now, since you did take this little sabbatical midweek, I will say in Couch in the Rube fashion, something happened post-show. Since you don't have any good stories from your trip, it sounds wholesome and fun. But after the show Monday, in classic Couch in the Rube fashion, Couch and I do our thing where we talk to each other for 5 minutes, figure out when we're going to do a show next, go our separate ways, and then talk to each other when we show up the next time. But this time, as we're leaving, we're outside, and Couch is like, "Yeah, I ran out of gas today. It's unbelievable." So do you want to tell this story?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, okay.
I mean, can we get to that? I've been dying. I go, don't you dare forget this story. Put a pin in that. Because he was going to tell me the whole thing. And I'm like, absolutely not. Shut it down. I don't want it. So this might be ass. Who knows? But I've been dying since Monday to figure out what's going on. How do you run out of gas?
So this is why this show can sometimes suck. Is like the best stories we have, we forget to tell on the same day they happen. Right? I mean, this is
post-show.
Just brutal. So Monday morning, I have a really early physical therapy appointment. I got this thing going on.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just like
what'd you blow out?
I can still walk 10 miles. I just can't like accelerate. My quick twitch has been hampered. Hurting my rec league sports stuff.
You have therapy for that?
Yeah, because I got to get back. But the only thing that matters in life is my ability.
Are you a professional athlete we don't know about?
Recreationally, I have to be able to do certain things
on the Tigers roster.
Yeah, I've been telling
hamstring tweak.
I've been telling the physical therapist, like, don't treat me like one of these people who just wants to walk again. You got to treat me like the entirety of Lansing's success and failure as a city depends on my ability to play recreational sports.
How good is that LSJ insurance? Holy shit!
It's costing me a pretty penny to do this every week. But anyway, so early appointment, earlier than I'm used to. Get up, and I get in our Jeep. I start driving to the appointment. I don't even realize it's low on gas. My wife and I try not to leave the cars low for each other. That's kind of one of our things. And she had the Jeep the day before, driving around, all sorts of stuff. And all of a sudden, I go, and people know Lansing well. I'm on Saginaw, headed east, like if I was to head to Front 43 in Cask and Company. And I go under the bridge near like the motor wheel lofts before you get to Pennsylvania. I start to come back up, and the car just starts to stop. And I pull over into that middle lane, so there's not traffic coming from under the bridge right into you, because there's like a pillar in the middle of the viaduct that separates the traffic. So I'm at least a little sheltered in that sense. But I pull over, I stop, I look down, the car's out of gas. It's just simply low fuel, out of gas. I made it like 3 miles, and
no beeps, no nothing,
nothing. It just
no light on the dash.
Well, the light was on the dash. We just don't do that to each other. We don't leave it. So in my wife's defense, we do also, we have a hybrid, and most of the time the car is plugged in overnight. So even if it's low, and I'm the one who fills it up most of the time, but even if it's low, we usually have like 25 miles just because it's filled up. It's not something that's going to happen to you. You have time to figure out you're low on gas. So our habits aren't really to worry about that either. They're redoing the sewers, the driveways, all the foot of the driveways and all that stuff right now, the curbs. And so for this last week, we have not been able to park in our driveway. And so our car is like down the street on a different road, and so it's not plugged in. So so in her defense, but I have not run out of gas in at least, I did run once out of gas on the way to do Ebling's show like 10 years ago, which was crazy. And my landlord actually came with a little gallon of gas to bail me out of that situation. But I otherwise have not run out since high school, and I don't think. And it was one of those embarrassing things.
Rightfully so.
You're like a grown-up sitting there in the middle of Saginaw, out of gas at 8 in the morning. And
calling someone else to bring you the gas.
Yeah. Oh, I called my wife. And to her credit, and this is when you know your wife, A, loves you, and B, knows it's her fault. Because I watched her leave the house on the Ring doorbell camera. I have never seen her skip/run to get, because she, again, our other car was parked down the street on a different road, so she had to get to that car. I never seen her skip/run faster.
How did you have the Ring camera on, waiting for her to leave, like you were watching her?
It's motion sensitive.
So you get an alert every time that there's someone at your door?
Yeah, but I don't usually have it on to the point that I'm paying attention to it. But yeah, it comes up. Yep.
Because it does. The best part of this from Monday, as we were leaving, because I said no more details, and you just walked away. You go, it was Elizabeth's fault, by the way. So I was like, oh my God, this is going to be an unbelievable story. But yeah, so she's taking,
she knew she got there right away and was apologetic. She felt awful because it was
which is rare for a wife to do that.
Because even if I had wanted to put gas in the car, I barely might have made it. The nearest gas station to us would have been close.
But it's a newer vehicle, right?
Yeah.
When you get in, it should alert you. Don't you ever look at the dash? Don't you see how fast you're going? You ever look down?
The problem with some of these newer vehicles too is they don't tell you exact miles. I might have noticed it was low, and it's been low before, but never have we.
It doesn't tell you exact miles. Like my car does it after it
tells
me 40 miles, and then when it gets under 40, it stops, ceases to tell me.
I just assumed if it was getting that low, she would have put gas in. Like it might have just come on. Maybe I noticed, but
this was the hybrid car you were driving, so correct. You had a possibility to use the electric. So you ran out of not only gas,
because
you ran out of electric as well.
Because we're not parked in our driveway and we have no ability to.
Yeah, but people don't know that. They just see like, oh my God, this hybrid guy. Look at this guy. He's on the side of the highway.
He's a moron.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's probably pro Elon or something.
It's not a great look. It wasn't a great story either, but at the time I was
worth it.
Yeah, it was okay.
It's okay.
The story we're telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, of course, in downtown Lansing. Great place for any occasion, including like a graduation lunch, or if you're just looking to duck out early and stay downtown or get away for an hour, get out of your office. Midtown Brewing Company here in downtown Lansing. Also a great place for trivia on Tuesday night.
It's a great story just in the fact that a wife can admit a mistake.
Yeah,
I figure that one they would still. And the fact that you saw her skip out and actually give some effort.
She was moving.
Because if you called and said, honey, I'm out of gas, she's ho-humming. She's out there talking to a neighbor. You can watch it on the Ring camera.
Yeah. No,
like, hey, honey.
The problem with the Ring cameras is I can't
like giddy up, will you?
Like if I want to have Front 43 and Caskin Company door dashed late at night after she goes to bed, there's evidence. That's the one downside to the Ring camera.
Be like Diddy, just pay someone off, get the Ring camera footage.
Well, what you do sometimes, and I've done this, is I will unscrew the Ring door camera like it needs to be recharged and bring it in the house. If I don't want
this.
I've done this
to get food in the house.
Not when she's in town, but like not wanting her to realize what I was ordering and when. Yeah.
So she wasn't in town; she's out of town, but the Ring cam. She gets the alerts as well.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Little does she know. Don't worry about prostitutes or anything like that. No, it's just food delivery guy.
My vices are much more wholesome.
Is he cheating on me?
No,
Ring. I need the underground footage. Can you get it to me? No, it's just a pizza guy getting snuck in. That's amazing.
I mean,
doesn't she know you by now though? Like if she sees, she can probably do the math. You don't have to be Matt Mancarini to be like 11:30. I'm gone. Unscrewed Ring camera. All right.
She knows that I walk like 5 to 10 miles a day and I'm this fat. Like she knows there's some issues somewhere, like there's just no, there's no way.
We all can do the math.
Yeah.
Even if you just watch us 3 days a week.
Right. All right. Well, let's
2 in the summer.
We have, by the way, it's National Donut Day and we're going to get into your groovy donuts. So if you're listening live, you got till 4 p.m. today to get the groovy donuts, or all weekend, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. either location, Lake Lansing Road, East Lansing, and of course in Williamston. Just one of the great holidays of the year. Before we do that, what we are betting, presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers Casino and Sportsbook app. Are you betting anything this weekend? Are you on the golf?
Yeah. I bet the RBC, the Canadian Open here. I tweeted out some of my picks there. They're looking pretty decent. David Ford looks like he might make the cut, top 20 plus 750. And the top 40, Alex Smalley, who tees off here shortly. He's in the top 20 area. Nikolai Højgaard, need him to make the cut. And Thorbjorn Olesen, who's in the top 5 right now. All those guys to make the top 40 paid $650 plus $650. So I'm going to be sweating those. And I got to say, and I know that I shit on the NBA, and I'm an old school NBA guy. But last night, Graham, I did a SGP. Tried doing an SGP. I can't get into this final so far. I know
finish.
It's a great. Listen, I know Halliburton. I didn't make it. I fell asleep way before that. I'm never going to make it to any of these NBA Finals games. They end at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Won't happen. But the first half, it just seems so dead and dreary to me. And it doesn't mean that just because it's Indiana, Oklahoma City, like the court looked drab. Everything looked kind of drab and it was kind of boring. I didn't even care about my SGP. If I can't even care about an SGP, while I'm gambling on this series, like what am I supposed to do with this?
I already lost my Thunder and 4 bet, so that's out.
You and Jay-Z. Oh no, Jay-Z had 4-1.
Yeah, I think I have 4-1 too.
OKC.
I have those two, but that's in peril. Yeah, I am. I'm a little skittish on the. I do have the. I have a futures bet on Oklahoma City, which is fine. I have the Oilers. Certainly, I'm on the Oilers to win the series because I hate Florida and hockey. But this weekend, I think Tigers Cubs. Even Friday night, you get plus money on Skubal minus 1.5. I know the Cubs are good. But this feels like Tigers just had a ho-hum series. Things aren't great. Like, this feels like one of Scooble's moments where he has a great start. And we'll see against the Cubs. But I don't mind. If I'm getting plus money at -1.5, plus 120, that's where I'm probably going on Friday night on the Tigers over the Cubs, and what should be a fun series this weekend at Comerica. That is what we're betting, presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. You ready to dig into these groovy donut Twitter questions?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Eric Schultz up first. You've suggested that Izzo was anywhere from okay with to supportive of Alan Haller being fired. Any idea of how Jonathan Smith felt about it before and after it went down?
I haven't talked to Jonathan Smith about it, and I don't know if he'd give me, I think off the record he would give me an honest answer about it. My guess is that Jonathan Smith is conflicted. I mean, this is Alan Haller, somebody he became friends with. Somebody who hired him, met with a lot. Like, he was Haller's guy, right? I do sense that there was some frustration about resources and things. I mean, I think if any football coach is coming in who needs to compete in this day and age might have, given MSU situation, and that may have impacted things in terms of how he felt about things going forward. So, I don't think it's like, oh my God, I do not think Jonathan Smith right now is thinking, oh my God, Alan Haller's gone. That was my guy. I'm in trouble. This is all changed underneath me. I don't think he's feeling that way. I think what Jonathan Smith wants is big boy resources, and if MSU has a chance to get there and it takes somebody else to do it, then I think he's probably all on board with that. He's also got a really nice contract that means he's not really on the hot seat.
Jeff Dillon next. Does Batt have the authority to fire Izzo? For example, if he had Nate Oates lined up and ready to go, could he solely fire Izzo, or would that have to be approved by the president, trustees, etc.?
Yeah, I don't think he has the sole authority to fire Jonathan Smith either, my guess is. I mean, when you talk about those sort of coaching decisions, hiring and firings of football, men's basketball, those are usually university leadership decisions that are often include the president, especially if you've got a strong president who cares about this stuff. I would be very, if you just look at the history of MSU, and sometimes there's even board members that are included in that. But so, I think if I don't think it would happen just because he had somebody else he thought would line up. You'd have to be a complete moron to come in to take MSU's job, the MSU athletic director job, and think that Tom Izzo wasn't above you in the pecking order in a lot of ways. Now, if Tom Izzo were to do something that was, like what happened with Mel Tucker, where you've got a situation beyond winning and losing, where you've got to make a move, that's a little different. But that would also include the president. That would also include other people. It's college athletic departments are weird places. Your football coach is always, if you're getting rid of a football coach, that's just not something an AD can say, I want to make a change, because there's so much money tied to it. Number one, that's such a big decision that impacts so many people and impacts the university in a lot of ways, that football program. And so that, and with Izzo as well, I mean, again, I don't think any AD brought in would ever have. Now, they would, if that was something that an AD wanted to do, they might have the ability to sell it. But certainly I think that other people could veto it, and the AD would probably lose their job before it actually happened.
It's the American way, except America has gotten soft.
Tim Rhodes next. When will we see a unified NIL collective agency for MSU? How much control does J Batt have over this?
A couple things. One, not entirely. Like, you're not going to have first of all, collectives are going to go in a weird place. And I think, collectives are still really going to be important to a degree, but how they're organized and how they help schools beyond the rev share is going to be interesting. You need to have money, and how you help generate these NIL deals outside of the rev share. But if you look at like charitable, this is Sparta, which is through Charitable Gifts America. Like, Charitable Gifts America is not even just MSU. Like that, they have NIL agreements and partnerships with schools throughout the country. And so one of the ones they do is MSU, and the guy who organizes it happens to be an MSU guy, and Tom Dieters. The other issue, and that's a separate thing. And the other issue is that Tom Dieters is not a ginormous fan of some of the other folks. And so could that get repaired? Could you try to make everybody feel the love and feel important? Maybe. But I don't think you'd have a unified NIL situation ever at MSU, just because those are separate entities. They're done differently in terms of taxes and the charity angle and one, and so I don't think you would ever have that.
Travis Maynard next. Graham, am I just in hopeful denial, or does MSU's current basketball roster look better on paper than this time last year? Sure, we know what that team did, but pound for pound, sans maybe the potential of Akins, does this preseason roster not look better?
Well, if you look back to last year, and you had the potential of Akins, who I would say for a lot of the year underperformed the hopes for him. And then you had a guy like Chase Richardson who way overperformed, right? And so you didn't. And so if you think back to what you thought about the team a year ago, you weren't thinking of Chase Richardson the way you think of him now. Obviously, it's a good question. I do think there are a couple things that would lead you to be correct here, Travis. To think that if you look back a year ago, to think right now this team you could think would be better. There are several players, including Cohen Carr and Jackson Kohler, who took steps that we probably needed to see them take. Like, there were things we knew Cohen Carr needed to do, but until you see somebody become that more fluid in the half court and that much more of a complete player, you don't know that he's going to take steps. So now you trust that he's going to continue to grow. Jackson Kohler, and obviously you had the injury, which has stymied him a little bit. Now you trust that guy's, he took huge steps, that there might be more steps in him. So you trust the development of a few guys. I do think if I was to go, I know pound for pound is an overused word I use, but if I were to go pound for pound through the roster based on what I thought a year ago versus now, I probably would think this roster was going to be better. Now, obviously, the Chase Richardson component is one that you didn't see coming, and that changed who they were, and so maybe that player still exists on this team. But overall, yeah, I don't look. I think Michigan State is going to be a good team. I just think, barring a rash of injuries or something, I think they're going to be a really good team. Whether they are truly a contender like last year, and whether they are a contender for the real stuff, the Final Four and beyond. Those are things that will depend on development and other stuff. But I think a bird's eye view in June versus June a year ago, I would take this team.
Don't coach my team.
Ethan Charmella next. Which of the 3 MSU basketball transfers makes the biggest impact at MSU by the time they leave the program?
This is tough, Ethan, and this is why we really don't know, right? Because again, I've watched a little bit of all these guys and tried to read about them and study up as much as you can and talk to people who've seen them play a little more. But you have in Caleb Glenn, a guy who's got 2 years left, who I really think, former 4-star guy, had a tough first year at Louisville where everybody was having a tough year, develops well as now he's got a couple more years. There's part of me that thinks he's got a real chance. Trey Fort's been to a lot of different places. There's certain things about his game that have some upside, but guy's like 34 years old. Like, how much better is he going to be? What does that translate to the next level? And then you get a young guy, Divine, out of Miami, who's, man, there's a lot of athleticism to him, and there's a lot of, could he be a real somebody who rises? If I had to pick one and put money on it, bazooka to the head, I would probably go Caleb Glenn right now, but
bazooka time.
Would also not hesitate to say I'll be wrong about that.
Ethan, where does MSU rank amongst Big Ten head coach duos, football and men's basketball? That's number one in our hearts, of course. Right?
Well, no, but if you had to choose, and you could have, because somebody else would be in MSU fans' hearts if they were the coaching pair, and obviously Izzo is. There are different layers to the Izzo relationship for people, right? It's they were really good this past year. People were a little concerned before that, but there's also 3 decades of pent up relationship and feelings, and for a lot of people, especially if you're a certain age, there is a feeling that he's yours and all that beyond. He's yours. I don't know what that meant. Fix that in post.
The urinal or portal.
But so Izzo is one.
That's
thing.
my coach.
Yeah, but if you went to would you go? I think what's interesting is if you look at Ryan Day, and I think Ryan Day is a really good coach. But would he be great at MSU as a coach? I don't know. And then their basketball coaching situation's a little more up in flux. If you look at Michigan, a lot of people like Dusty May, but is Sharon Moore a proven entity? Then again, obviously with a guy like Jonathan Smith, yet to do it at MSU and how that'll work. If you look around the Big Ten, it was constant. It really hasn't worked in football there. If you look at Illinois and sort of their limitations, and Penn State doesn't have it in basketball. It's I'm trying to go through just my head right now, and you go out to a place.
This is a July topic.
I apologize. Well, it's June.
No,
I mean,
I know,
how
we're
far do we got to
spitballing.
get into it? But like
July.
Would you go? I mean, Oregon, where you have an established basketball coach and a pretty good basketball program and a great football program. Would you go Oregon? Maybe that would be. I don't know. Dan Lanning and what's his nuts?
Dana
Altman. Yeah, that.
I mean, are you excited? You know what you're getting with Altman, though.
Yeah,
right?
but Lanning would be one that I think people would be excited
Sure.
about. So that would be maybe the.
But it's about being excited about both.
It's interesting because not many places, when you start to go through it in the Big Ten, really have both rolling. It's not a thing where, like, MSU's not alone in not having one of those programs rolling, or at least having certainty. Not many places that people feel really good about both of them.
Oh, and next, is it okay to be disappointed but not in meltdown mode about the Tigers series against the White Sox this week? And from Ken Shue, is this the start of a Tigers slump?
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers gambling update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Nick.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
Well, they did. Well, not in terms of the slump, but in terms of being disappointed, not meltdown mode. I think people need to do that. Like, what they go 2-2 against the White Sox, which isn't great. The White Sox aren't good, but the White Sox have been playing a little bit better. They just got an Ishbia, perhaps, as the owner midweek.
But do you know about the 84 Tigers that they went 36-5 and then went 500 the rest of the way?
Yeah.
So everybody calmed down.
It happens. You're going to have these. But
it does suck when it's a terrible-ass team like the White Sox.
It feels like there's an opportunity to really, because what you're looking at when you look in the standings and how far the Tigers are up, and you really want them to, pedal the metal, so to speak, and try to get a lead that's insurmountable at some point. And the White Sox feel like a missed opportunity. That's what it feels like. I think it's okay to be disappointed, and then you get a tough Cubs team in what should be a decent series. But you just want to, that was still a road series, and I know the White Sox are a little different, but you really want to go, 500 on the road overall. And if you do that as a really good baseball team and win most of your home series, you're going to be in great shape. And I don't.
I mean, I'm not saying I worry about a Cubs team coming in here, though. But do you think
the Cubs are really good.
I know. I watched them last night against Washington. I just see a team like that's hitting well coming into Comerica. I don't know.
Well, this is the value. This is where you have Screwball as a stopper. I mean, this is not, or stopping a slump from beginning, whatever it might be. Like, this is the value of the true elite ace.
Enjoy Scooble while you can. Am I right? Chris. Jeff Peterson. So do you think Tarek Scooble's agent would be transparent with him during negotiations? I mean, how much do players' agents tell them about an organization's offer?
You're supposed to tell them about every one.
I was about to say.
Yeah, that's the job. I mean, I think it's an ethical thing. Like,
wouldn't you fire that person if they didn't tell you?
You cannot.
Your agent.
You're not supposed to withhold, offers. I don't believe that's even allowed. Now, I guess if you're just spitballing back and forth, would you consider this? Would you consider this? There's a difference. But if a formal offer is made, I think that has to be shared with the client. I don't think there's any.
Boris probably texts him after every outing. Is like, oh, there's another $35 million,
$400 million coming out. That's what let's see.
Old pizza boy send. Kurt Wisniewski, what will be J Batt's first big move or initiative at MSU?
That's a good question. And I hope to sit down with him at some point and get a sense of this.
Pound the bushes.
I don't know if anybody came away from. Obviously he said football is the important thing, but we knew that. I'd written that. Everybody written that. Like,
we did.
If he had said anything but football, if he came in and was like, women's softball, that's where it's at. And
let's not talk crazy. I was talking more about basketball. If he came in, I'm a big Izzo guy. We're focusing on basketball. Football, nah.
Even then, he'd be an idiot, and he wouldn't have gotten the job. I mean, it was very obvious. But first big move and initiative, to me, those are – when you talk big move and initiative, that's not just like healing, donor relations or trying to raise money or trying to – what do you want to raise money for? Is there some big stadium project, for example, or is there some sort of fund you want to create to have the best offensive line in the world through rev sharing and NIL or whatever it might be? I don't know. And Kurt, if I knew, first of all, I would have a better sense if I was probably there midweek, maybe. Or
Should have been there, man.
No.
Unbelievable.
No. This will not be my last athletic director introductory press conference, but how many more times with my mother do I get to take her to Stratford?
Wow, if you have to take it to that level, apologize. David Jackson and Kurt Wisniewski. The Tigers certainly are going to try to make a splashy trade deadline acquisition with the intent of making it the finishing touch to win the World Series. So who do they target? A, starting pitcher. B, Trevor Bauer. C, a third baseman. D, someone else. And why is B the best answer?
Trevor Bauer, huh? First of all, I don't know that you know if you need a pitcher yet. And the other thing I would be cautious about trading, giving up resources for a pitcher, is in the postseason. Like, you got to get to the postseason. You want to win your division, all that stuff. But in the postseason, you don't need 5 starters. I mean, that's my issue with baseball, is that it's not reflective of the regular season. You need 2 or 3. And you need 2 or 3 at a really high level, and then you need a really good bullpen. But I would be much more inclined, again, to be at a third. I mean, I think defensively at third base, you're probably okay, but you need a bat. And then you need to figure out where you probably got 2 or 3 spots where that can fit. But to me, it would be something that is an elite.
But Arenado, I mean, if you can get him at a decent price, that would be amazing to have his defense at third base. I mean, Sandy Alcantara from Miami, I know that he's gone through the Tommy John surgery, but in 2022, I mean, that's Scott Harris's whole thing, is trying to get these reclamation project guys. And Alcantara was unbelievable before he had the Tommy John surgery. So, I mean, could you find a little diamond in the rough? What does Miami want for him? But
and again, you want everybody after Tommy John, because everybody goes through it.
Right.
You don't want a pitcher before Tommy John surgery. You don't want to ever spend on a pitcher who hasn't had it, because they're going to have it. Like, that's 2 years you're paying for somebody that.
And Trevor Bauer, can he still pitch?
I don't know.
Right? I mean, would it be worth
is he over
bringing
in Japan pitching right now?
I don't know.
Where is he? I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I thought he had to go to Japan for all of these accusations, and I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Is it worth your while? Is that something Scott Harris does? I don't think so. But
see, here's the thing, and again, I'm not saying, and I know some of the stuff, the accusations against Trevor Bauer have been played out, that there was some. I don't think he was guilty of everything that obviously was originally charged, and so. Do people deserve second opportunities? 100%. But what the Tigers also need is an elite pitcher, if you're going to do something like that, or a really good pitcher. And then the Tigers right now have great vibes and are a really likable team. I don't know that Trevor Bauer adds to that, and maybe he does. But I also wouldn't spend.
So basically, he's still guilty in your eyes.
I didn't say that.
Well, it just sounds like it. Is it worth the squeeze? Like, he has to be this elite pitcher. I mean, if it's a guy that had accusations made against him, and those accusations come out that they were mostly made up, I mean, you have to give a guy an opportunity if you want to give him a second chance to come in and try to. I wouldn't have any problem with that, as long as all of these accusations are false.
And he can provide value.
Sure.
Yeah, as a pitcher.
But I just don't think you have to be a certain level to get over the things if some accusations were made about you. Anyone can make accusations about you and how far they go, and then if you all of a sudden redeem your character, how all of a sudden now people still feel the same way about
here's
Bauer
my question about him, and it does appear that the specific accusations were made up, right? But the issue I have with Bauer is, then why isn't he back in the league? Like somebody, like and I understand people might be hesitant about that, but if you're a quality pitcher, or people still think you can be a quality pitcher, or people think you're a decent guy and a decent pitcher, and this sort of situation was made up or whatever it was, I would think he would be back in baseball. I'm not pretending to know all this, but I would think some places have kicked the tires on this. Like, there's something there in terms of how people thought of him as a teammate or whatever it is. There's something there that hasn't allowed it to happen yet, because otherwise you would just think it would have happened somewhere already.
Yeah, I can see that. David Jackson, does MSU hockey actually have a chance to successfully recruit Gavin McKenna? Is he really considered to be a future McDavid or Crosby? He's that good?
I think he is. And I when I saw this question, I texted my buddy Scott Powers this morning, who covers the Blackhawks in the NHL, The Athletic, and he didn't realize. He said he's got superstar potential, and that it's a real big deal that he's looking at MSU. And so, I don't. MSU right now in college hockey terms can land anybody. They've got an unbelievable situation going, and we're seeing that. And one of the things that MSU hockey always had, but couldn't seem to take advantage of before they renovated Munn and with sort of the direction of the program was being in the Big Ten helps was in some cases. Like if you're elite as a hockey program and you're in the Big Ten and you get the Big Ten campus and you get the resources behind it, there are advantages. Now, you can argue there are advantages at schools where hockey is number one too. You could say that also can be an advantage. But you've got a situation with Will Morlock, the strength and conditioning coach, who I think is one of the best and somebody that Adam Nightingale brings up constantly. You've got a really good staff, and you've just got it rolling. And so I think MSU in college hockey has as many advantages and as much going for it as any program there is. So absolutely, I think it's a possibility.
David Jackson next. When you chide Magic over the Lansing Promise program, I have to ask if you can estimate the annual donation it would take to fully fund it. Then let's calculate the present value of an annuity investment that would be required today to perpetually fund Lansing Promise.
So I haven't done the overall this in a little bit, but it used to be, and it was, and it used to be about $10 million annually would do it, and so that's a lot. And it used to be, I think at one point I looked at it, was like $250 million would just allow it to just be in perpetuity. So it's a big ask. I'm not saying it's not a massive ask. It's just I would just wish it was something that Magic was desired to do, and I don't think he does.
You should have started with, that's a great question, David.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Instead of, I don't have any numbers, but Scotty Green's El Camino. Is hockey recruiting on a generational run right now?
Well, I mean, some of the guys they were getting in the 80s, but generational certainly, because that was a different generation. And 80s and 90s, I mean, they recruited at a very high level. It does seem now, when you look at the number of draft picks, expecting around 15 on next year's team, NHL draft picks, that's a lot, right? It is rolling like nothing else they've had, and obviously winning a national championship at some point in the near future is really the next step. But the big thing they've done, and the big thing that allows that to happen, is what they weren't for a long time was a program where NHL teams wanted their players and wanted their players to continue to develop, and they've got that going for them. And when you have that, it allows you to recruit elite talent. Because remember, it's a whole different system. Guys get drafted often after their first year, and then they're just either in your program or at this point they can transfer, or they can, at some point, they get signed and, they can stick around or go to the NHL minor league system. If they think they're developing with you, and that's what MSU has going for it right now, it allows the ceiling is the roof, so to speak.
Scotty Green's El Camino couch. What's a good untold story in MSU sports that you'd like to write?
You got anything you'd really like you can think of?
I thought we always do this. I mean, it's a smoker,
yeah. The true behind the scenes, how bad it was.
Yeah.
I mean, there are lots of.
Well, not how bad. It might have been a good time for him at some points, at certain points, and you have to approach it as like, oh man, remember the good old days? You can't go like, oh, all those devastating times, Jeff. Like, no, you got to pitch it as like, oh man, remember those fun times? You're doing coke off the stripper's ass. Like, that's what I want to hear about.
I think there are lots of them. I mean, there really are, and usually they're in sliding doors moments, right, where things could have gone differently if something else had happened. And
I mean, the Max Bola thing, just out of the sheer like how. To be honest, I really don't even care about the reason anymore, more than I just care about how it was kept secret for so long.
Yeah.
When people just wanted an answer. And I don't know if many people, I don't know, like what is the reason why it was so secretive?
Right, and the other
what was
and the other element is how successful that family was and everybody was at keeping it under wraps despite a lot of sourcing.
I would rob a bank with the Bola family.
So the
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh my God, those people can keep a secret.
It's like a mob family. Yeah, no, yeah, and there are ones where, I mean, you've seen things written about like the Nick Saban end of the Nick Saban tenure, so that's not new. I would love to know. There are lots of things I would love to know, like the end of the D'Antonio era, where things were starting to get frustrating with fans, and I know within the administration there were levels of, boy, there need to be some hard conversations with him here, but how you do that with a legend, how you do that with somebody who's earned some cachet and earned some grace, and
it's going to have to be years down the road. I think because of D'Antonio's success, that has staved off some of the expose possible stories that would come out, because there's definitely a lot of interesting stories out of the end of D'Antonio's reign here, right?
There are things within Mel Tucker's tenure. Around town, everywhere. Like there are things that I would love to tell.
It's a Netflix documentary for sure.
Yeah, so there are a lot of them, and
I mean that's a given. I just figure it's going to take time for
right and
for Michigan State to distance themselves from all of that. Then we see a Mel Tucker thing in 2030. Good documentary.
I feel like people are more.
I want to hear from Tucker now. I mean, I know he's got lawsuits going on, but
once Alan Haller's no longer at Michigan State, right? So there's a guy who knows a lot, and so you get that sort of, and Tucker's no longer around, and his staff is everywhere. So it actually isn't a story now that is as hard to tell as it would have been, even a few months ago. And
true,
because you start,
but who wants to talk?
Right. And so I think it's one of those things that 5 years from now, could you get Haller and some of those staffers when their careers have recovered and moved on, or whatever they're doing next, and they're in a place where things aren't just as raw, and even for MSU and people around, the idea that if MSU football is winning again, so it didn't feel like the effects of the Tucker era were still playing out. I think that would be.
Here's what we could call the Netflix documentary for Mel Tucker.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
We don't have enough time for all of that.
Yeah,
that can be the name of it. Dan Mack, do you think the big donors had any influence on the hiring of J Batt? I believe Kevin G. thanked Greg Williams during his part of the presentation. Can we expect an uptick in donor activities now that a new AD is on board?
I
think Izzo thanked Greg Williams.
Was it Izzo thanking him?
Yeah, because it was very weird when I saw it. It's all of a sudden, I'm like, who the fuck is Greg Williams? What?
Well, Greg Williams is the massive donor who runs.
Okay, I know, but I don't know I don't collect donor card. I don't have a baseball card collection of donors, so I don't know their face. And I just like guys that pound bushes.
I'm sure they were. I'm sure guys like Greg Williams were 100% in the know, and there's a difference between and in conversations. And my guess is though that.
Is that a part of the package for a donor? You get a shout out before hey, Tom's going to go up there. He's going to point to you and go, hey, Greg Williams.
You get your ass kissed. But because think about
it.
I mean, think about it. The whole model is, nobody has the money themselves. This isn't like the state of Michigan is just funding MSU anymore to the point of being able to do this stuff. The whole model is asking people to give you money. And so, if it's a different model than any professional sports or anything like that, you've got to kiss their ass because they're doing you a favor. They're constantly doing you a favor. It's just a perpetual favor. And if you like having your ass kissed, then being involved in college sports as a donor is a great place to be because they have no choice but to.
But if you're a donor, it's like Tony Soprano in The Sopranos when he realized that these guys were only laughing at his jokes around the table. He had this whole self-realization where he's looking around the guys, they were laughing at any joke he said because he knew he'd have them whacked. So he kind of had a realization. Is it that way with donors when you see you're getting a shout out because you're spending a certain amount of money, millions a year? It's just got to be really troubling as a donor.
The relationships with Greg and Don Williams are different than that. They're deeper. I mean, most of these relationships are deeper than that. And I do think that this was a Kevin Gustowitz led. I think he's the one who identified and wanted Batt, and so that I don't think this was something that were Greg Williams or Matt Ishby or somebody. Was the one who directed him towards that. There's a little bit of a previous relationship, I understand. He was somebody who he thought very highly of and was worth going to get. And it's not that, but you keep those guys in the know, you sell it to those guys, and everybody's on board. And then it's everybody moving together. And that's my sense of how it probably happened.
That's how it goes down, huh? Because it's just a weird scene. It's everybody, oh yeah, no, it's all good. Everybody gets down. It's more than that. You mean you just don't hand over $5 million? You get to have dinner and. Well, here's it's actually a friendship and shit. I don't know.
It has to be. I mean, this is what Batt talked about. You can't. The first time they hear from you, it can't be the ask. You have to develop relationships. That's the way the donor relationships are important.
But as a donor, you'd be like, okay, all right, J Batt, when are you gonna ask me? I noticed you didn't ask me 2 times previous. You know what I mean? It's just such a weird game.
It's weird.
Good luck, J Batt. That's amazing. I think he's underpaid already. J Batt.
J Batt. Yeah. By the way, J Batt. Will there be a nick Batt is such an interesting name. I've never heard it before.
Batt.
Will there be a nickname for him at any point? Will it just be?
How do you need? I mean, really, it's J Batt. What is the nickname?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
It can only go punny from here. Ask Ebling.
I just keep. Yeah, that's right. That's
what I mean. It's either J Batt or we succumb to one of fucking Ebling's puns. Tyler Simmons, Graham, do you have any plans for sit-down interviews with either Smith, Izzo, or J Batt soon?
I'd like to talk to all three in the near future. I mean, obviously, Jonathan Smith, I'd like to talk to before football season. I think there's just a good interview there on a wide-ranging interview on on his first season, the things he's learned, where the program stands, the athletic department, just all the stuff. Just what I think having done this for more than a year now, I think there's a really good one. Obviously, J Batt, I'd love to sit down because there are a lot of questions there as well. And sometimes, they may do something. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more of a roundtable sit down with a lot of media. I'd like to get him one-on-one, obviously, at some point. Haller was really good at that. Hollis before him, Beekman too, if at certain points were good at giving you their time. And Izzo is, while he's the easiest to get, although maybe sometimes a little more elusive in the summer than he used to be, I think Izzo is more interesting than he has been in a while. And obviously there's the roster stuff with his own roster that I think there are lots of questions there. And then the man's just been the interim AD. And I know, again, some people talked to him the other day to some degree, and I wasn't there. Poorly timed on MSU's part. But Izzo's got interesting stuff. So all three of them I'd like to sit down with and at some point and have conversations for stories.
Scott, you have a sit down with J Batt. He asks you for your 3 quick takes on all things MSU and East Lansing, and what are they?
Well, first of all, I would show up with Groovy Donuts. And if you've got anything where you are looking to butter somebody up to ask before you ask questions and set the tone in any room, anywhere, be it at your job, be it showing up for a gathering, a party, if you want to set the tone that people should like you or at least want your presence there, Groovy Donuts are the way to go, whether it's National Donut Day or not. You can call and do, order 14. That way you get a dozen and 2 on the way home for yourself. They'll do specialty donuts if you have a high school graduate, a college graduate, somebody going off to school next fall, your baseball team, your football team. They will do specialty donuts. You go to groovydonuts.com to place your order. Andrew and Monica will be happy to do that. And they're open 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. They're open 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. this Friday, so if you're listening live, stop listening, get out there. 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday at 2 locations, Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing and also in Williamston. What were the 3 quick takes on all things MSU and East Lansing if I have a sit down with J Batt and he asked me for my 3 quick takes? I would say, and he knows this, that football is everything, but I would say understand that people need you to beat Michigan. Start there. Understand that rivalry as quickly as possible. Because I think if you're an administrator trying to compete with them on a number of sporting fronts and you're setting expectations for your own coaches, whatever it is, it begins there. People's mood around Michigan State depends greatly on their ability to compete with and beat Michigan. So I would start there, and then I would say it's a really good point. I would just say 3 quick takes on all things MSU and East Lansing. That
I thought the live read counted as 1.
Oh, that was the Groovy Donuts.
Yeah, wouldn't you tell them about all of our great sponsors in our podcast?
That's a really good point. Yeah. Front 43 and Cask and Company. It's a good point. Yeah, the way the question's phrased here is the reason I'm stumbling about it, because the things I would tell them about MSU is I do think like MSU wants to be a place that feels like it is a program that can really compete with the big boys, and that is not automatic. But I think MSU can if it taps into its fullest potential. And I think he understands that. He called it what he say? They should be a top 10 program or a top 10. Yeah. So he gets that. But I think that MSU is a place where that's not automatic. They are not Michigan or Ohio State in football. The rise of the basketball program is not, from birth. It was something that happened in the 90s under Izzo. Like, a lot of things are possible at Michigan State, but failure is not impossible. And so you've got to make people feel good. You got to make people feel like the possible is there, and you've really got to set the bar high for those things.
J Batt, are you ready to pound the bushes? That would be the one thing, right? If you pound the bushes here, people are going to love you. Scott, how would you describe to J Batt the unique seasonal fandom that is MSU with virtually the same care factor for both football and basketball?
A blessing, I would start with, because while it's a challenge and a blessing. It's the challenge is that people can turn their backs, but they can be distracted after a tough football season with the enthusiasm and hope of hoops, right? And I don't know if when you're trying to have initiatives that are football based, whether that can sometimes be limiting from an athletic director standpoint. But I think that is also a blessing, that people aren't, it's not constant. You're not in February with people still harping on what happened against freaking Rutgers, because people are dealing with the MSU Rutgers basketball game. They don't even they remember it, but it's just not top of mind. And I think that's really healthy and really helpful. I think it allows MSU to be one of the healthier places in terms of a fan base, because it's not 24/7, 365 on football. And just I just can't imagine even wanting to work in athletics at a place like that.
Jay Riemenschneider next. Does the success of this past MSU basketball season erase the previous 4 so-so seasons for Izzo and the MSU basketball team? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, erase.
I'd say so.
Nothing erase is maybe nothing erases anything, but it definitely, I think, gives you confidence that the program is in the right direction, or that Izzo hadn't lost his fastball, so to speak. I mean, that was the real concern, right? Is the program had dipped, and the fact that the program comes up now, you got to sustain it year over year over year. If this past year becomes the one good year, if the past year becomes 2021 in football, and everything around it is less than expectations and people aren't enjoying, then this year doesn't really mean all that much. It just becomes a year, that occasionally you can still have it. But it doesn't erase anything, but it does. It maybe erases the notion that Izzo can't do it anymore, if that does, to say that. Yeah.
Next one from Jay. You always say that football crazy schools like Auburn, Michigan, Miami, etc. could care less about basketball, even when successful, and MSU loves both equally. Doesn't that just give fans double heartache when both kind of suck, such as MSU did for about the last 5 years or so, outside of 2021 in football and 25 in basketball?
Yes and no. I mean, think about it, because if you only care about football and you suck, then the heartache is constant anyway. If you care about both and you suck, the heartache's constant. It's not any worse. It's just like it's just there. It's what you care about, you're not good in. And so in Michigan State wasn't, in basketball, I don't think there was ever a point where there wasn't hope going into the next year. There was disappointment. And even in football, 2021 created vibes the whole next year that, and even after 2022, there was hope going into 2023. So I don't think, but in terms of just it doubles the suck, if that makes any sense. I don't think it makes it that much worse than it would be if football is all you cared about and you couldn't win in football.
Mr. Benjen, many MSU players only stayed 1 year. Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Randolph are Spartans and are remembered as Spartans. Guys like Erasm Lorbeck and Deontay Davis are not really. Why?
It's how you leave. And this is actually something that's going to be a real challenge for MSU fans over time. And Erasm Lorbeck, by the way, I did a piece on him, a Where Are They Now piece during the pandemic, and really enjoyed chatting with him, and did a Zoom call, and he was overseas, and he wore his MSU jersey to the, MSU swag to the Zoom call, and really good conversation with him. And he was just, I think he was a beloved player, but he was here a short period of time. People wanted more from him, and he went to play overseas professionally. Now, and this, I think it would be thought of differently even today, but he went overseas professionally. And at one point, he made like $8 million in 1 year. I mean, he did fine for himself. Deontay Davis went to the NBA, but probably should have come back, and people wanted him to return, and people viewed that as a bad decision. And they also weren't, the headliners while they were there either. And so I don't know if they're not viewed as Spartans, but
$8 million for Erasm Lorbeck?
Yeah.
What does that get you for a year? $8 million.
He was a really good overseas player in his prime.
Yeah, he was paid well.
Well, he's the top. He was at one. There was 1 year where Erasm
some of those
Lorbeck,
oligarchy guys in Russia, they were just flinging money out.
Erasm Lorbeck was the top. If I believe I have this correct, was the top guy paid overseas 1 year, like 15 years ago. Yeah, I mean, in his prime, he was really good. But why does it happen?
Who keeps those stats?
I mean, some of it's guys in the NBA, and they're in the forefront of mind, and so there's a pride that goes with them being around, being MSU guys. I think that's the biggest thing.
I still feel like Erasm Lorbeck and Deontay Davis are remembered as MSU guys, like maybe not as fondly. But Zach Randolph is a Hall of Famer. Jaren Jackson might get there one day, but Zach Randolph rules. I mean, why wouldn't he? When I see Zach Randolph, I'm like, oh, man, I just think about great times.
And in a world where college players are paid, I mean, how you view a guy like Jace Richardson versus how you view Trey Holloman, I think is something that's going to be a challenge for people, because Trey Holloman and Jace Richardson left for the same reason. They left for what they viewed as a better opportunity to continue to reach their goals for more money. and you can argue that there was more money for in the next year for Jace Richardson at MSU, whereas for Trey Holloman, there's more money at NC State. And obviously NC State's had some roster movement that we'll see whether it actually works out for Trey Holloman the way he wanted it to. But I think it is a good question, and how how players are viewed when they leave depends on how we feel about how they left often.
Mr. Benjen, Bill Beekman got the Yoda voice. Can we hear it just one more time? Anyway, J Batt is also a name that deserves a voice, which fits best. Also, Yoda and a Rube mimicking the couch voice.
Jason, do you think that Bill Beekman...
You cannot give that to J Batt.
No. So you're just going to...
Never tires with Beekman. No, because I don't think that J Batt gets the couch. Why would you give him the couch voice?
We don't know yet. He'll earn a voice, and we don't know what that is.
Really? I don't know. I listened to him talk. I was trying to get it. That's why I said I am kind of bummed he doesn't have a Southern twang kind of.
Well, maybe we give him
freewheeling and Joel Olstein kind of vibe. That's what I was hoping for. Shooting from the hip.
Maybe we give him a Southern twang, a Southern voice. Maybe that becomes our thing. Instead, you have Michigan man. Maybe you have J Batt voice. And it's just a Southern twang, like you would wish he was.
Take that on tour and everything. Yeah. I'm sure people will enjoy that.
Yeah.
Jebediah, what is Hondo up to these days?
He is not at Front 43 in Cask & Company. And this is one of the great things about Cask & Company and Front 43 is you do not have to worry about Hondo ordering 3 different meals and eating them right in front of you. I've never seen him there, and there are lots of great things about Front 43 and Cask & Company. Not the least of them, I've never run into Hondo Carpenter there. So,
isn't Hondo in the God game still?
I don't know if he's still running the church. Yeah, out in Vegas. He's doing the SI Maven Raiders coverage, and I think he still runs or owns the MSU one, and then he's running a church as well. Hondo's doing Hondo. Yeah.
Jebediah, how soon will we land that football pledge that shows us that J Batt era has officially begun? Better be soon, damn it.
Yeah.
This is J Batt. Oh,
so I don't know how do you attribute that to an AD? But I do like where your head is. I think we're there. How do you attribute that to an AD though? I don't know, because all of a sudden now there's fundraising in for Jonathan Smith. If I were Alan Haller, I'd be like, F you. Like if you cared about the university, if you cared about your coach, if you cared about winning, it wasn't like you couldn't donate yesterday if that was what was really needed. I don't know that there are that many guys out there. I think for football, it would be for the following year. And again, I think there's so much right now with rev sharing, which is, schools are acting that like the House case has not been finalized at all, the rev sharing settlement, but schools are planning on it and are going to act on it from everything I understand. Anyway, I don't know how quickly and what that'll look like. And the other problem is if it's a pledge right now for 2026, is it really anything? I mean, who the F cares if they land a recruit right now? You're not really landing anything right now. You're just a guy said he wants to come who's unreliable. That's what you're doing. An unreliable teenager said he's probably going to come. That's what it is.
Matt C. next. Does a 5-7 record get John Noel Smith fired after this year? How bad would it need to be? And want it to work, but this defense is going to be historically awful this year.
No, a 5-7 record does not get Jonathan Smith fired because the contract is just there's no way. Number two, it shouldn't. Now I understand that it's a big year for him, but to me, at least even in this day and age, you got to give a guy 3 years. We've just talked about the issues with resources, and so none of those issues with resources are solved for this year's team. So if the issues with resources are not entirely on him, and I'm not saying he's not partly responsible for providing juice and donors, and that's part of being a head coach these days. People have to feel good about you, and he's got to do that. And it's part of the job. But he's not going to get fired after this year just for going 5-7. I mean, if the school can afford to get rid of Jonathan Smith after this year, then they could have afforded a lot of things for him again, and that to me just makes no sense.
Matt C. Graham, are you the guy who sings along out loud at a live Broadway show?
No, I wouldn't do that. Sometimes I'd like to, but I wouldn't.
How many MGs?
I just wouldn't do that. You every once in a while you're I've never seen the musical Frozen, but I'm guessing like 7-year-olds start belting it out from the stands because they just can't hold it back. But yeah, I wouldn't. You'd have to be a real jerk to be at a Broadway show, and like I can't imagine. Talk about deserving a throat punch. If you're singing in a Broadway show when people are performing on stage, it's
Matt C., where's Doug these days? I also found it weird radio stations play the voices of guys that no longer work there since they own the rights. I would take Doug to dinner for the audio that he's cut for us, in the past. 100%. I don't know, does he want money? I think he just enjoys it. Last time I talked to Doug, Alan Haller got shit canned.
That same day?
He texted me. He's like, what the fuck is happening? So
every once in a while I hear from I miss Doug. I like Doug a lot.
I do. I don't think Doug watches sports whatsoever anymore. I just think he's into music now, and he's just doing his thing. I think he's still with his lady there out in Howell. So
yeah, good for Doug.
I miss Doug for sure.
And the thing about Doug is when we use all his stuff, it's a tribute to him. I mean, he was so good at those voices and producing different things for us.
Like this.
Yeah.
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Red Wings Gambling Update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Lee.
I mean, come on. Yeah. MAP award winner right here. There. The Ernie Harwell of Southern Maine. What level of donating do we need to make to be considered influential? What sort of access does that get you? I make to be a mover and a shaker for the softball team. Will $125 annually allow me to make coaching hires?
For the MSU softball team, not the LSJ softball team. It's going to be a little more from that because I run that. But a couple things. Well, there are different, like how influential do you want to be? Do you want to be that Fred Heumann interviews you on Channel 10? Then you can be Jim Hios influential.
Pound the bushes.
That costs less than actually, making moves. I might fix that in post. I don't know if I should say that. But, I mean, I felt all of Fred Heumann. That's a good question. What level of donating do you need to be considered influential? I think one of the things MSU probably needs to do a better job is making every level of donating feel important, right? I mean, you're not just talking like small donations and then mid-level donors who also could have an impact because a lot of, I still think there's an opportunity, and I don't think colleges do this as well as political campaigns, to really raise funds in the new college world through a lot of smaller donations.
I mean, if you were having a conversation with someone and you didn't know them, but I guess they were a donor, and they told you how much they donated, like how much would you be impressed?
So if you're an athletic director and you're going to give somebody influence, like to me, if they're donating,
it's got to start a mill.
Well, influence. What's influence mean? Like in terms of
listen to what you say. I take into account what you're saying. You start that off with $1 million. $1
million annually?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We contact each other. I take your concerns to heart. You have my phone number. Anything below that, I have no idea who you are.
I might say $500K annually. But
yeah, see, we're dipping too low.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't deal with all these problems. But would it shock you if you heard I donate $500,000 a year to Michigan State? Wouldn't my first thing be like, Jesus, really? Why? Right? That would be my question. Like, you have to get something out of that. But all right, Shep next. I've been a loyal listener and regularly submitted outstanding takes and insightful questions for years. I go out of my way to patronize Pure Options and Cask & Company when I'm in the 517. I've even introduced myself to Graham and Maui. Yet my takes and questions are always buried in the last 10 minutes of the show. Who do I have to blow to secure a more respectful position? Buy hundreds in teacup merch? Become a Torquay United fake owner? Push someone down the stairs, watch horrible Lifetime movies and pretend they are good, bet futures on random C-list golfers no one has ever heard of? I demand respect.
Shep, you'll notice that you were much higher in the show than the last 10 minutes. I didn't realize that was happening to you. Number one, what you did mention, Torquay United, which always gets you in the top half of the show. Number two, I would say that
a donation.
A donation would do it? Yeah.
Donation.
The other thing that is, and we do have some people at the very top because they're sort of made men and or made people. And
good catch.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And we like how that they begin the show and that sort of thing. But we have some people at the bottom of the show we really like. And one of the biggest challenges sometimes of like Upper Deck Jerk Guy does not contribute for a day. I have to find somebody else who ends the show on the right tone, and we need the show to be strong throughout. So there are times where I will take somebody who's pretty high in the show, whose take or question that I really like, and I'll move it way down because I'm like, this part of the show, we want a strong section here on this topic. And so it's not an insult not to be in the top. The whole show, but I will take that into account.
I think the insult is the fact that you're telling people that much thought goes into where they're positioned.
A lot does. Well,
that you do that.
Well, not by name. That's the other problem. I'm not usually paying attention to like, oh, that's Shep. Fuck that guy.
But if there were a donation, there would be something pinned to your name.
Or if you're just Eric Schultz. If you're somebody or Dominic at that
But
level.
he did introduce himself to you.
No.
And Eric Schultz, that's how he got up there, by just doing most of our contests.
Did a lot of work. But also
season-long football content.
And I will say this: I appreciate you, Shep, for the not just the introduction, but the because you are donating to us in a lot of ways when you support our sponsors, and that's what we really appreciate. That's what we want. We want people to support our sponsors, and so we very much appreciate you.
NC Spartan, following the recent hearing regarding Clemson and Florida State's potential departure from the ACC and the rumors of an exit map being discussed, which ACC teams do you believe would be the best fit for the Big Ten?
North Carolina, Virginia, I've always thought. It doesn't mean those. I mean, I just think in terms of potential for entire athletic departments, academic institution, quality, all that stuff, I think the two that the Big Ten would be most likely to want and like would be North Carolina and Virginia. That would just be my guess.
NC Spartan, what NCAA Division I sport do you feel delivers some of the most exciting and entertaining games, but receives the least amount of national media attention and following?
Well, I mean, hockey doesn't get much national attention, and great college hockey is. I mean, we see it with the NHL. Great. I was in Canada the other day watching the overtime of Game 1 between the Oilers and Panthers, and just like the thrill of that. The thrill. I mean, anybody who's been watching MSU hockey the last 2 years during this rise and some of the incredible finishes they've had, like that sport, great hockey in person too is as good as it gets.
And it's usually guys like me that love hockey but say like, oh man, hockey, there's nothing better to gamble on, overtime and playoffs, playoff hockey, blah, blah, blah. And I end up not watching most of it. So I just can't figure out hockey either.
I do think volleyball, which some places has that following, I think good volleyball is a sport that has a lot of excitement, big crowds, moves fast. I think volleyball
has good-looking women in short shorts. It's good for the sport. Doesn't suck.
I think volleyball could be bigger than it is, no question.
Steve, having to frequent rest stops, gas stations, and fast food joints while traveling this month, approximately 50% of restroom users do not flush. It really is disgusting. Graham's crusade to trough America is one we must all get behind.
Yeah, you don't have this issue when you have the trough.
Yeah, but people will just ruin troughs. I mean, people ruin anything.
How will they ruin troughs?
They'll take a shit in a trough, dude. There'll be a log in a trough.
Well, that's the worst.
That's what I understand, but it doesn't matter what you do to certain people are fucking shit. They are terrible human beings out there, and we're surrounded by all of them. The fact that he said 50% of the restroom users he's seen, which, by the way, taking notes on that, it's fantastic, Steve. But to say that, I've witnessed it as well. It's wild. How could you not go into a bathroom and flush the toilet? Well, how do you leave?
But when's the last time you saw somebody take an actual shit in a urinal? It's been a long time, probably, at a rest area or something.
In a urinal, but I'm saying
why would they go in a trough?
Because you have a place to hang. You can put your mule down, and then it can push it all out. If you're in a urinal, you can't push a turd out while you have to pee. It just look absolutely insane.
A well-constructed trough is not an easy place to take a shit. It just isn't. It's not.
Have you ever had anyone put an upper decker in one of your toilets, your personal bathrooms? I mean, anything's possible.
Mm.
Do you know what an upper decker is?
I don't.
Okay, Google it.
I'm not doing that.
I'll give you some off.
I don't. Oh, my God. Really?
Yeah. Upper decker. Toilet. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm going to do it. You told me to do it.
No.
Here we go. What do we got?
It'll ruin your life.
Okay. Well, I can just read the Urban Dictionary version. Refers to a prank of defecating in a toilet's tank. Mm-hmm. Oh, man, that's awful. Who would do that?
Upper decker. If you do it at someone's house and then you just get shit water.
Somebody did that to you?
I have never had anybody do it. I have seen it done.
You need new friends if somebody's giving you an upper decker in your house.
Come on, this is back in the late, when I was 19, 20, 21. I've seen upper deckers performed. It was a big thing back in my 20s.
Did you ever do it to somebody else?
I did not. I swear I did not. I did not. There's no way I could drop a turd. There's no way I could drop a tail in that form. Just to be up in that area, no. I've seen it done.
Mm.
I'd tell you if I did do it, but I did not ever leave an upper deck.
So you were watching it happen? Why it happened?
Well, yes. Yeah. I know. It's a lot of disgusting times back in my day. Sinner's Dog 97.
I was going to do a story we're telling, but I don't want to tie. I don't want to tie Midtown Brewing Company.
I didn't do it. Listen, I was not a part of this. There's things that you're involved with.
Okay.
Parties you're invited to. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But listen, I'm not happy with it. Sinner's Dog 97. What's more surprising? The Board of Trustees not interfering with the J Batt hiring or the Elon Trump breakup? Yeah, who do you got in that? Elon or Trump? For Graham. You're probably back on Elon's team now.
What's more surprising? Elon's a weird dude. I mean, what is the guy?
Save your hot takes for Monday.
Yeah, I was gonna
shit.
What the guy's got like 11 children that he doesn't support, or he gives them money. He's just trying to like populate the world with Elon. So weird dude. Yeah. Anyway, so the idea that first of all, the Trump Elon breakup was not surprising. It was inevitable. So more surprising, the Board of Trustees not interfering would have to win it. But I would say this about that: like, it does seem like Guskowitz does have some level of control is wrong, but he seems to have something going where they look to him with a certain level of authority, and I don't know. He was a really good hire because my sense is they respect him in ways they haven't always respected everybody, and the board's got enough own issue. I mean, I think if you're the board at this point, you've screwed enough up. Even if you're kind of dim-witted, you're like, maybe we let somebody do this without us. You know, and we don't screw this.
As someone who's dim-witted, it's not fun when people do that.
Yeah,
they do things without your knowledge. Detroit Spartan, picture this: Elon Musk in a muskox flannel, heading into the octagon to take on Donald Trump. Who are you taking, and what are the odds?
Well, I'm taking the man in the muskox flannel without question. I mean, that level of quality and consistency is just not something you're. That can be easily beaten. So I'm also going with the younger guy, and the odds would be minus. Well, you'd get some people taking the action the other way because Trump may poison Elon. He might do something nefarious like that. So I would put the odds at like minus 220, but I would take Elon with those odds.
Steve Whitaco, would you rather own a Tesla today or a white Ford Bronco on June 18th, 1994? Depends on what neighborhood you lived in.
A white Ford Bronco,
dude,
man.
Back in the day,
yeah.
When I lived in Rochester, Michigan, that white ass town, if I would have drove a Ford Bronco after that, oh man,
I'd like a white Ford. I'd like an early '90s white Ford Bronco today. I'd love to drive that around. I think it'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, but you need a resto mod on those though. You don't want like an actual everything's clean from '94. You don't want to deal with that 1994 car technology. But I can agree with you.
Yeah. To answer the question. I mean, a Tesla has more bells and whistles, but I would. I mean,
currently today.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Lansing Sexton, so I could have done the Ford Bronco in the parking lot in 1994.
yeah, you'd have been popular as fuck. Steve, Pride Month question: is your affinity for Hallmark movies and pro bono airplane daycare service an unconscious reaction that helps you work through your trauma of murdering people of a protected class?
Another good question.
That's a great question.
Yeah. Yes. Is that the answer? Yes. We'll just answer yes.
Mike Scott, if listeners all paid $4.99 with all funds going to the Lansing Promise, could we get a July pod with special guests Therese and Elizabeth featuring topics related to treadmills, prison, family gathering stories worth telling presented by Midtown Brewing, TV restrictions, and more?
We'd have to do the whole thing presented by Midtown Brewing Company, which, by the way, in downtown Lansing is an outstanding place for brunch on Sundays, any event. And if you're looking for a cool date night, it's good vibes. It'll look like you put some effort into your choice. You love the menu, something for everybody, some lighter food, some comfort foods. Just they do a really great job. I love their chef there. And, of course, my favorite beer, the American Stout at Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue. If all listeners paid $4.99,
my half's not going to Lansing Promise. I'm keeping my half.
Okay, well, there you go.
Fuck that.
At some point, someday, some year, we will do a Therese and Elizabeth because I think that would be fun. Maybe.
Professor, is there anything worse?
But by the way, there'll be a lot of off topics. Like I would be controlling the shit out of those topics because there are certain.
Why?
Well, there are lots.
Who wants to do that show?
Well, that's
what
right.
are you controlling? What are you talking about? We don't control any topics on this show.
That's true. We don't.
Listen to you.
I would be nervous. I would be very nervous.
No,
I don't know.
I can see that show happening. Yeah, but by the way, there's only going to be 3 questions. And I asked them, like, what?
Sorry. I'll fix that.
Why did you do? Oh my God. Anyway, Professor, is there anything worse than ticks?
I've never had them, so I don't know. I mean, yes, probably. You had ticks.
AIDS is worse than ticks.
There you go.
Professor, if you had the chance to be a contestant on a TV game show, which would you choose?
Like all time. What's your...
Fuck. No whammies. No whammies, no whammies, no whammies. Stop. What's that game called?
I don't even know.
No whammies, no whammies. Stop.
What is that?
Press your luck. Thank you, Rob. Boston Rob back here.
From the Peanut Gallery.
Yeah. No whammies.
Okay.
You've never seen Press Your Luck?
I never have.
Get the fuck out of here.
I've never seen it.
What?
I've never seen it.
We're the same age. Did you never not have like school off or anything?
Yeah, but I was watching like Guiding Light.
Press Your Luck with the whammies. It goes around. If you hit the whammy, you get busto.
Yeah, I don't.
You've never seen it.
No,
well, that's a bit.
Yeah, I don't know. Double Dare. I don't know.
Jeez, forget it.
No, I'm
You're
sorry.
not even taking this seriously.
I am taking it seriously.
You're not.
I would go. You
You've
know what?
never heard of Press My Luck?
I have not. I'm sorry, but you haven't heard of most good
Supermarket
things.
Sweep.
That I like. That's
So
a
you've
great
heard
show.
of that?
That's a great show.
I refuse that, dude. If you saw Press My Luck, there's
Okay.
no way you've never not seen an episode or a second of it.
I will look it up. Mine would be Jeopardy because you get to feel smarter than everybody, even though you're not. Even though there's
but there's too much pressure. What if you get like negative 5,000?
No, not if you're hosting.
Oh,
no, wait, it's contestant. Oh, I was thinking of this host. I read that wrong. Contestant. I wouldn't be Jeopardy. No, I'd suck. People would realize how bad I was. To me, it would be maybe American Ninja Warrior. Is that a game show?
You know what? All right, let's just move on. Right. Alex Mayer next. What specifically was Haller's biggest issue with donors? He didn't ask their permission to hire Jonathan Smith. He didn't involve them enough. Hated asking for money.
So it wasn't that he didn't ask their permission to hire Jonathan Smith. He went that alone. So he didn't involve them enough in that. He did go. I mean, he didn't view the job as needing to ask donors permission. Which, again, it's not really that, but it is a job where you have to understand that there are certain donors that are, more important than you. And I think, the job is largely fundraising, and it has been for a long time, frankly. And I think that wasn't his favorite part of the job. And I don't think he hated asking for money. Nobody loves asking for money. If you love asking for money, it's kind of warped. I mean, there's something wrong with somebody who just loves asking other people for money. But I don't. Yeah, that relationship with some of the top guys and even some people who hadn't been reached out to in a while wasn't where it needed to be.
Alex Mayer, what's your favorite donut and least favorite donut?
Give me your favorite groovy donut.
Ooh, that's so tough. It really is, and I'm not even saying it like a Graham bit. Like,
yeah,
the
red velvet to me
is just a class.
So good.
I can never go wrong with it, and I usually am a guy that if I enjoy something, I usually never stray from something I enjoy, and it never lets me down.
They have had a number of donuts that would fall in this category of like I have just orgasmic levels of joy. But the red velvet is it. I don't really have one. I don't know that I've ever had a donut of theirs I didn't like. Now, if they made like a black licorice donut and they don't, I probably wouldn't like that.
The ones
with
peanuts, but I'm allergic to peanuts.
Okay,
and peanut butter stuff. So
one of the things they do real well is they do gluten-free donuts. And I'm not gluten-free, but sometimes they'll be out of like your favorite donut, but they'll still have a gluten-free version of it and this other little case.
And doesn't it make you feel better about just eating gluten-free? Like, I don't even know if I can taste the difference. I just go, I'm eating gluten-free today.
Yeah, they do such a wonderful job. So if you ever go there and you have your mindset on a certain donut and they don't have any left because you're going later in the day or something, getting 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday, 2 locations, Lake Lansing Road and East Lansing and Williamston, look in the gluten-free case. Because that is where sometimes they'll have that, and it's just as good. They do such a wonderful job with that. And by the way, if you don't want them to ever be out of your donut, just go to groovydonuts.com, place your order, and they'll take care of it. And you go in, and it's right there, and boom, you got the donut you want.
King Lion, in your opinion, what is an adequate punishment for Michigan football for the whole Connor Stallion situation?
Well, right now is the NCAA hearings, but yeah, that's right. Just on loop.
Yeah. 6x speed.
Or maybe halftime, like even slower.
Oh, it's slow enough.
Yeah.
I can't imagine your voice on half speed.
It's a good question, and what is and what will be. Like, I'm very hesitant to punish current athletes who weren't part of something, right? I don't love that generally. But also, this is something that took place over multiple years when their biggest winning was happening and may have impacted that winning. So, I do think I'm curious, and they can't take away, by the way, the national championship because the NCAA doesn't have anything to do with that. They can vacate wins, they can do things like that. So I wouldn't be stunned, and if you think somebody impacted winning over the course of several years, you could vacate a couple seasons. I think that would be something. Now, people would still know that you could still win a national championship that year. You could still go to the playoffs. How the Big Ten would view it, I don't know, but you could vacate wins. And if you thought the Connor Stallions' advanced scouting techniques which were not allowed, impacted winning, that that would be something. Vacating wins, I think, would be the way, because that's hurting past people, right? And then coaches who are still involved, you suspend them.
John Naughty next. Given that coaches and players should be fleeing that school down the road this summer after the hammer drops, do you think Oklahoma to win week 2 is an amazing opportunity to make money? #bet.
So it's at Oklahoma, right? I don't know what Oklahoma's going to get. Oklahoma's
but
not
that's Sharon Moore's alma mater.
But I don't know if he'll be coaching, number one. Number two, the question is, what is Oklahoma going to be? Like, Oklahoma last year wasn't very good. They had that win over Alabama, which screwed Alabama. But the thing we'd have to find out is, what is Oklahoma? Blindly, it seems like a great spot to bet Oklahoma. I don't know what Oklahoma is going to be as a team this year, and I haven't done the look into that.
John, do you think athletic director Jay will go all SEC on us and cut some non-revenue sports this summer?
I don't think it'll happen that quickly. I'd be surprised if he's not somebody who gives things a year in, because number one, you've got student athletes who are on campus. Like, it's really unfair to do to somebody at this stage if they're planning to play a fall or winter sport. I think you would do it going into next year at some point, or next year, and give them the time, to transfer and to make decisions on their own, their own timeline. And I don't know whether I don't think MSU knows yet, and I'm sure J Batt doesn't know yet, whether that needs to be done. I mean, the real question is, what do your finances look like in the new rev sharing era? What can you afford? What are your levels of expectations in certain sports? Like, to me, one thing Mark Hollis did is he had very low expectations for certain sports, and you want to continue to create those opportunities for kids, but you don't care if they win as much, because that's the way it existed for a while under Hollis, and with, I'm not saying he ever said that directly to them, but whether he kept a coach or not was relative to the resources and expectations for that coach. And with Alan Hallow, that changed a little bit. And the non-revs, they had greater expectations, and they were, they were expecting more out of it. So it'll be interesting to see how he treats them. If you don't expect winning and you expect just the sport to exist and you can do it relatively inexpensively, it doesn't always make sense to get rid of a sport.
Money bag next. Why do certain local writers feel the need to call him low-level staffer Connor Stallions every single time they write his name? Everyone knows who he is. Everyone knows he was talking to coordinators all game, and everyone knows he was getting game balls from Harbaugh.
He should just be a staffer at this point. Low level is not. I don't think Connor. He was not the offensive coordinator, but he had an influence on the games. And nobody needs that. You sort of know it at a certain point. Everybody knows who Connor Stallions is. If you do need to identify him with an identifier, like staffer will absolutely do.
David Witcher, why does MSU allow Woj in to cover stuff, especially when Connor Eargood is also there? One writer who hates MSU is enough.
I felt all of Fred Human. Contrary to popular belief, Bob Wojo, as we call him, does not hate MSU. I know he doesn't hate MSU. I mean, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean I don't think he writes more about Michigan. It doesn't mean I don't think he, leans Michigan. We talked about the blue curtain, but he does not hate MSU. He just doesn't. I can promise you that he does not hate MSU.
You guys talked about it?
We've had lots of conversations about.
You pulled him aside,
yeah.
Like, hey man, what's up?
Bob's a great dude. Yeah,
what's up, Wojo?
And at some point we ought to have Bob on the pod, because he would. I think that would come off pretty well. Yeah.
Richard Kane, are PSG 2025 the best European football club of the 21st century?
I haven't been paying attention closely enough for some of this century. It certainly was an impressive run from beating Liverpool to. I wish they had played Barcelona in the final. That would have been fun. But the way they took care of, who did they play? Give me some. What am I?
Cockburn.
Jeez.
I am the passenger Peacock?
Inter Milan. I don't know why I just kept. I had a lot of apologies. That's absolutely embarrassing. My bad.
Richard Kane, how does Izzo respond when you ask him if he realizes this is a football world and he and the rest of college basketball just need to get over themselves?
Oh, he understands it. I mean, one of the blessings MSU has in that sense is they don't have a situation like you have at Kentucky where you had Calipari and the football coach disagreeing with each other like that and having sort of a war over their importance. Izzo understands football makes everything go, and he's always loved football, and it helps when the guy who is the legend at your school understands the significance of the biggest sport. And Izzo, if you said that to him, would 100% agree.
Back to the white elephant in the room. They don't want to deal with the white elephant in the room.
Richard Kane, a lasso? A lasso is your favorite superhero Wonder Woman.
So he's referring to my dream of like when I'm on the road and I see a bad driver, I just have this vision. I wish I could just like lasso their car and whip them off the road. Yeah. I mean, I have nothing against Wonder Woman. She was not my, I was more of a He-Man guy back in the day. A little more She-Ra.
Yeah.
But
sense.
That sort of tracks. Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we will wrap up your Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Couch in the Rube, our Friday afternoon show presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and iCasino and Sportsbook app and Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask and Company Kitchen and Bar.
Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask and Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. Two amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask and Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at gomuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Donuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Donuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Donuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at groovydonuts.com.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, our Friday show presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app and Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask and Company Kitchen and Bar. Go to caskandcompany.com to make a reservation to check out their outstanding menu. It's two great restaurants adjoining, different vibes, one menu. You'll absolutely love it near the Lansing-East Lansing border on East Saginaw. Back to your Groovy Donut Tour questions.
Dave Berwaldi next. Hey, Graham and Jason. Momentum is everything following MSU's AD upgrade. Is there still time for football roster upgrades through the portal? If so, what is the deadline? Thanks so much for the show, guys.
Well, they have to already be in the portal, and so I'm not sure who else is out there. I think the roster's pretty well set. It's possible you could see somebody somewhere move, but that for this year, I think it's it. And there are a lot of things about this roster I think have a chance to be good. A little concerned about the defensive line in terms of and I think some of that stems from last year and obviously their inability to get sacks after the first few weeks at the Big Ten level. But I do think they'll be better at receiver. I think they'll be I think you'll see, you should see a jump at quarterback. We'll see. I think the offensive line, that again, seeing is believing, has a chance to be improved. And I think like linebacker and parts of the back end could be okay too on defense.
Original Darkman Antonio next. Do either of you go to the Detroit Sports Spectacular?
I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's like I think it's a card show. I don't know if they have comics or other collectibles or trade stuff there. I do know about it, but no, I have not gone to that event. Original MSU offered Duvet Williams. When looking at his offers, MSU has zero chance of landing him. Seeing the state of the program, do you think that they should still offer the likes of him because of future transfers, or solely focus on who they can realistically get?
Yeah, you should offer anybody you think is, realistic at a certain point. Sorry, I just did the thing is always accuse me of that interview, whatever that was. I think you definitely want to go after guys that you think are the standard for your program and you can create relationships with. And I think the other thing is, if you're MSU, you are hoping you have a year this year in football that creates some momentum and creates a little different feeling about the program. And then you've got the revenue sharing, which gives people a little more of an equal playing field, at least gives you some serious dollars to make decisions to do with, probably $15 million just there for your football program. And then you're hoping you've got other funds, to help reel in talent beyond that. But if you're recruiting players for 2026, you have to recruit assuming even if they commit somewhere else earlier, that you have a chance to change the vibe this season, and that late in the year and in November, that you've got a chance to really make some hay not only in the high school kids but in the transfer portal. You absolutely shouldn't sell yourself short. Now, do you waste a ton of time on kids you don't think you're going to get? Probably not, but absolutely they should go after guys like that.
Right now,
and I think by the way, Duvet Williams is 2027. So you're talking about getting in on the ground floor, and you're hoping by then or by the time he commits, your program's in a much better place.
Right now, either you're stuttering or I'm not picking it up because it's a what. So,
Matty B next. Hyperbole aside, if you were MSU's AD, how would you handle the CMU issue? What is a realistic remedy to that problem?
Yeah, I would understand this, that CMU and MSU are not unconnected. A lot of people are, CMU is an hour away. A lot of people in this area went to CMU. A lot of people are fans of both, and I know there's some people in the MAC who hate that the people like CMU and also Michigan or Michigan State and but there are a lot of people at grad school one place or in the other for undergrad and vice versa. Like, you have to understand that they are forever sort of tied in that sense. You don't have to appreciate the behavior and the disrespect. And I think you can be vocal about that this is literally like a family member who shit on you and deserves to be scolded through that. And so I think that the language is enough. I don't think forever hating CMU, because that's not, everybody doesn't feel the same way. That what they did in this situation and the lack of accountability for it is a problem, and I think you can speak to that.
Next one from Matty B. How did the LLC issue never get more investigation by anybody? Do you think that's a part of the Committee on Infractions case?
I think the infractions case against MSU is, if we're talking about MSU here, I think that is has to do more with a staffer and some handling of funds, but I don't know all the details and the scope of it. So I don't really feel comfortable saying more than that because I just don't have the information.
Lions reply guy, Jason, would you ever travel overseas for a Lions game? And are you going to any away games this year? Would you go to Philly or would you be too scared? See, I'm very respectful when I go to other teams' kind of venue.
You wouldn't wear a Lions jersey, though, at Philly, would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm going there to watch a game, I'm going to wear what I want to wear. What am I looking? I guess I'm not scared then. I guess if that's what you're at, I would still wear my jersey. Would I don't know. I'm pretty easy. I'm an easy target. When I go to these games, though, I wouldn't say, like, I always have some sort of interaction with some drunk dude. Like, some drunk guy always thinks he can say something to me, or I don't know. So
have you ever gotten in a fight at a football game?
No.
Okay.
No. I no, because I want to stay in the game, and I know if you throw a punch, it would have to be really, really bad. And I'm not saying it's ever gotten to a point where I would have to handle something, but my friend Jordan can attest that there's sometimes when he and I just walk around, there's people that just come up to me, and I think that they want to just, I don't know. Like when I had the Panay Sewell hat, I was wearing that during the Washington game. And we were, a young lady did come up to me and ask where I got the hat. But then there's this other guy who just comes up and he's like, I have a Branch jersey on. And he's like, need a big game out of you, 32. And he like slapped my shoulder. And I'm just like, and he's obviously shit-faced. And it was like 3 hours prior to the game. And I'm just like, dude, are you going to make it? And he's like, what are you, my mom? And I was like, that's a fair point. I shouldn't have really said that. But I'm just trying to say, as someone who likes to get fucked up, sir, you might want to just pump the brakes. But as far as any away games, we are looking at Cincinnati, possibly Kansas City for those two. But as far as overseas for a Lions game, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't. There's no part of
No
me.
desire. Yeah.
No fucking Brazil. Yeah. I don't want to London. No thanks.
If I could go, I would do it if I could pair it with some overseas soccer games for sure.
Well, if I could pair it with someone paying for it.
Yeah,
I would definitely go. I would go to London to see that. But if we were talking about pulling money out of pocket, seriously.
We should talk to Michael Patrick Shields, who does the morning show, because he seems to get those sort of sponsored events all the time. It's
unbelievable.
We should get this show sponsored from London for like a week. I think we could he must have some tricks. We'll talk to him. I don't know what's going on.
As long as I can borrow one of his jackets to wear. Yeah. C-Dubs 91, where does Rick Carlisle rank in the list of recent coaches, say, since 2000?
Really good. I mean, the Pistons even fired him, but they did
after back-to-back 50-win seasons.
Yeah. Oh, they did win a title with Larry Brown. I'm not saying that was a bad move, and there have been other situations like that.
He's got to be top 5, though, right?
Yeah, and the way he's adapted, it's a totally different system and offense that he runs than he ran with the Mavericks, and all those years. Yeah, 100%. Since, you can argue Kerr, Carlisle, Popovich. Yeah, he's top 5 for sure. I'd have to, you can argue what's nuts in Miami. Yeah.
Spoelstra. C-Dubs 91, is the NBA just incredible at developing certain players, or are some college coaches just awful at their jobs?
Well, the other thing that happens is players spend a lot of time. Young players who spend 1 year in college or 2 years in college, and then they're 3 or 4 years in the NBA. But yeah, the NBA will tell you that one of the reasons they want them in the NBA is they full-time can do this, right? And so but there are college coaches who aren't as good at it, for sure. I think it's a case-by-case thing. Some guys need college and do well there in developing, but as you get older and it's a professional job and it's what you do, there's more time for it.
C-Dubs 91, why does my opinion on sports takes only matter if my name and picture are associated with my tweet? Many of our country's foundational documents were written under a pen name. Follow-up question. In a past life, was Couch a Tory complaining about some guy named Publius?
Not that I recall, but I don't remember all of my past lives, only a couple. Well, I just, it just gives you more credibility. I understand, there's a rich history of pen names and but in this day and age, I just think there's more credibility with your actual name and photo, and that's all it is. Yeah. You don't need a photo, really. You just need your actual name.
Yeah. It's more of a personal thing. If I saw someone with their name on it, I take it more seriously and a picture of themselves. Daniel R. Patterson, in an early season indicator game, how should MSU match up against Boston College?
I don't know.
3 quick takes.
Yeah, I have not looked at Boston College this year at all yet, and I obviously will when we get into August. But it's one of those things that I tend not to do for a while. But it's one of those games that, and obviously they probably should have won it a year ago at BC, and you can't lose that game. You got to win that game at home. Obviously you could lose it and win other games and call it a successful year. But if you want to have the year and the juice we were talking about, the idea to go to USC and maybe come out of that win 4-0, like Boston College is part of those first 3 games. You got to win that game.
John Johnson, when is the next show where Jason answers and Graham reads?
Yeah, we could do it anytime. We could do it next week. We could do it in July. We'll figure a time because it is fun. I enjoy that, and I enjoy it I enjoy it, and I think
you don't want to save it for a live show.
Well, that is fun.
Where 35 to 40 people can just stare at me while I answer.
Yeah, let's get to that.
Yeah. John Johnson, Graham, you keep mentioning about the possibility of having kids. Aren't you like 50?
My wife is not that old. I'm 45. My wife is not that old.
Are you going to be like Bobby De Niro, having a kid at like 80?
If it does happen, I would be an old dad. Yeah, for sure.
Adam in Colorado, why hasn't Graham bought Izzo a nose hair trimmer? I cannot unsee this.
Yeah, it's a picture of Izzo with some serious. Yeah,
that's on Lupe.
Yeah.
That's on Lupe.
Right.
I'm sorry. Our wives have to be in charge of 100%. I'm not saying they have to clean out the nose hairs, but it's their job to say, honey, seriously, a little something.
Yeah, when my eyebrows run wild, my wife says something.
Right.
She's like, if you don't, you should trim those.
Should I get Izzo a nose hair trimmer and just send it to him? I have one. It's wonderful. It's got that little attachment to it. It goes right in the nostril. Just, I mean, like, I saw his nose hairs and I was like, oh my God, I wish I kind of had those because it feels like it would be kind of nice to get rid of all.
My dad used to, have sometimes, and sometimes I think, does he just not notice them? And then other days they'd be.
Well, there's a level of not giving a fuck anymore.
That's
like, I can respect that, but when they get a little like, come on, man.
Yeah,
MSU Optimist. On Monday, you casually mentioned Izzo needing to be talked out of questionable assistant hires in the past. Give us names.
I cannot do that. And let me say, I should clarify that it wasn't like the person that I'm specifically referring to as somebody I think would have been a bad coach. It was just based on some past history, probably wouldn't have been as well received or potentially well received, and that's all it was.
MSU Optimist. My son is starting soccer with the Cap City Kickers. Will you be coaching? Can I find lines on the Asian market?
It would be nice if you could bet on youth soccer. I think a lot of parents would appreciate that. And you can run your own book if you want, a soccer league for youth. It might get a little too competitive. I will not be there. I have not been asked back since the 1 year that I coached 6-year-olds who weren't my own.
Couch on Fire, as someone mentioned on Monday, shouldn't we be paying more attention to Dylan Dingler, number 2 on the team in WAR, and he does have an excellent porn name, doesn't he?
He's been revelation.
I think it would be more of D. Dingler, though. Like, it wouldn't be Dylan. You don't see a porn guy named Dylan. Or he'd be the Dingler.
Yeah. D. Dingler's good.
The Dinger? Yeah, it's not very good. No. But it definitely wouldn't be Dylan. So that's what makes it not a great porn name. Couch on Fire, my random celebrity I ran into was Coach K. I'll tell the whole story in July. Can Jason do a Coach K shout-out? No. It was not great seeing you. No. I looked right through you.
I think my favorite voice you ever do is Coach K. I love your Coach K.
Because I have to snot on the microphone?
I love it.
Sorry.
I love it.
Sorry, Boston Rob. Mike Scott, Jason, have you ever set up a table at a card show? If not, will you? If so, what was the experience like? I have set up many card shows since I got back into it in 2019. Haven't in a while just because of the prices of boxes of cards. Like, I haven't been buying as much. I've kind of, I wouldn't say soured on the hobby. I still like and enjoy the hobby, but everything is so expensive now. Boxes are like $800, and I just wasn't having as much fun at these shows. A lot of people want deals and want you to give your cards up for pennies on the dollar, and sometimes I'd rather just set them on fire. But yeah, I do love card shows. I need to get back into that kind of stuff. So, Troy Hunter, what happened to your last sponsor responsible for bake takes? Did they just not renew?
Yeah, well, they renewed several times over, but we are not currently with Pure Options. We still love them, and they may be back with us in some facet. They were a great partner for a long time, and that happens with sponsors. We've had some that have been with us consistently for the whole time. Some come in for a year or two, and we love all of them, and we appreciate all of them. And we had a real good run with Pure Options, and we're looking for
and we're currently pounding bushes for trying to find a replacement.
Yeah, another presenting sponsor. Yeah. It doesn't have to be weed.
It could. I would appreciate weed. Hans Jurgen, I'm kind of disgusted that my fellow Spartan Alan Haller was fired. Does our MSU degrees mean nothing? I thought we were family. Should I burn my fan card and let these carpet baggers hang themselves? They think running MSU is easy. #arrogance.
I never know if you're serious, Hans.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough to figure that out.
It is.
Sarcasm meter.
Yeah. I know there are some people who are really mad about the Alan Haller, and I've seen it mostly in emails and that he was fired, and they like him a lot. I personally liked Alan Haller quite a bit, but I also understand that this is big boy business, and MSU's president felt like something else was needed, and that the fundraising wasn't where it needed to be, and it's his prerogative to make that happen, and not his prerogative not just to do it, but it's his responsibility to make that happen, and so you make that move.
Hans Jurgen, would you accept Trump as MSU AD in exchange for his resignation as president? Would you shake his hand? What if he made Stephen Miller SID?
Oh, God, if Stephen Miller was the SID, if dealing with him on a regular basis would be but the first part of your question, yes.
Hans, what would you do if your wife suddenly inherited over $100,000?
What would you do?
I would celebrate.
Me too.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What else are you supposed to do?
Yeah, put a little away.
Don't Google anything. I've seen it on Datelines. Don't you fucking dare Google.
What do you mean?
You know what I mean. Pushing wife down the stairs.
Oh,
to
I
get
see.
100,000.
I see.
You know
No, yeah, that's not.
Take it all yourself. You don't want to give up half. You know what I mean.
That's not enough money for.
That was good acting, though.
Yeah.
By a guy that pushed people. Hans Jurgen, if you have the cash, should you buy a car outright or take out a loan and try to make more than the loan interest rate in investments? See, is this serious?
I don't know.
If you have giving financial advice, or?
If you have the money, don't take out the loan. Pay it. Just buy it. Yeah, just buy the car.
Jake Hawkins just saw where Jace Richardson made about $28 million. What in NIL in his 1 year at MSU? Is this true? And where did all that money come from?
It is not true. And I know there's talk about Cooper Flagg making over
Who's
$30 million.
lying to Jake?
Yeah, don't listen to that.
Him.
Don't listen to that. I mean, you're talking about a 3-star kid, and even though they were high on him, they did not. Don't. I mean,
is that 97-1, Jake?
If he wanted to come back, I think they would have found a couple million this year to pay him like one of the top guys in college basketball. But that would have been this year. So yeah, don't. No.
Next one from the Hawk. What improvements and upgrades do you think need to be made to Spartan Stadium? Do you think it needs to be torn down and completely rebuilt?
They can't afford. I mean, that would be just a huge amount of money, and money that Michigan State would struggle to get and would impact a lot of other ways to be competitive. I don't think it needs that. I think it has some levels of charm. It's just, it's a concrete deal. So it's got a Eastern European look in certain ways, and those sort of places need to be kept up. And they have upgraded over time. If they were going to ever just tear it down, then they shouldn't have done the last few renovations, because that was just a waste of money. They should have just gone in a high-interest savings account and waited until they had to do the whole thing. They do need to work on the east side, the upper deck. They need to work on, and I don't spend a whole lot of time in the rest of the building, but this should be a question we put out there for people sometimes. What would be the upgrades? I'd be curious to see what our listeners think.
Next one from the Hawk. How big is Nick Saban's endorsement of J Batt? Keep it in mind, he was also high on Mel Tucker.
Yeah, it means nothing, because the Mel Tucker thing is a killer for Saban in terms of his endorsements. And I'm not saying it's not honest about that.
He didn't know he was going to beat off on the phone.
I know.
Sex survivor.
I know. It's just bad, because you got what you have is, you have this, like, you see it on social media, this little card, this quote from Saban about J Batt, and then there's that same sort of thing about Mel Tucker. Now, he didn't speak to Mel Tucker's character or anything like that. He spoke to what he thought he was as a coach, and I think people get stuff wrong, and I also think that Nick Saban honestly believed that about Mel Tucker at the time.
Jake, what do you think made J Batt turn down athletic director positions at other schools like Maryland? Do you think he could possibly leave MSU for a SEC school or his alma mater, UNC?
Sure. I mean, he's 43 years old. He doesn't have ties to MSU. I don't think he has to be a lifer, and I don't think that matters. I think what you need is a really important moment for MSU and an MSU athletics, and what you want somebody who's going to give you the next 5 years, ideally, and put MSU in a great place and get things rolling, and then so the next hire – we'll have that, certain things in place and certain systems in place financially to get done what they want to get done. And if he stays longer than that and he does a great job, that's great. But I don't think that should be the concern.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy, what one thing do you dream of accomplishing before you die? Hopefully getting out before 3:30 here on the show.
Yeah, maybe. The
Masters. I want to go to the Masters.
Yeah. Find a new presenting sponsor.
Oh, that's it. Jerk Guy, what is Jason's most prized card right now, and can I buy it for $1? No, you can't. Jerk Guy, if you got into a Twitter fight with someone, who is the most likely candidate? It's for you, because you get into all these.
It could be anybody. It would have to be a tweet that really, it would probably be political and
smart.
Yeah, and I would.
Those are fun.
Yeah. So I don't know who it would be, but it would probably be somebody who, I don't know. I try to really avoid Twitter fights now. I'm really trying, even when I have whiskey in my system. Yeah.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy, finally, how easily is a jelly donut filling cleaned from muskox flannels?
It's one of the great things about a muskox flannel is that when I've got a groovy donut and I'm sometimes a little sloppy as neater. Anybody who's seen my computer keyboard can attest to that. It comes right out. Comes right out in the wash in a muskox flannel. We appreciate all of you. Thank you for producing our show. Thank you to Groovy Donuts, by the way. A happy National Donut Day. Go to groovydonuts.com. Place your orders for any occasion or just for yourself, or swing by either location, Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamson, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., Thursday through Sunday. And we appreciate Front 43 and Cask and Company. Unbelievable place. Again, for any occasion, date night, watch a game, go to caskandcompany.com to make a reservation. We appreciate Midtown Brewing Company. Same deal with them. And our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. We'll talk to you Monday. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Booth.